We have big breaking news coming in from the Delhi courts. It seems that during the hearing of the 2020 riot case, the prosecution has played some tapes. These tapes are of speeches of Sharjeel Imam, who was one of the accused in this matter. And India Today has access to all those speeches that were played in front of the court. Well, the 2020 riot case tapes we are bringing to you on camera. The prosecution is calling a brazen provocation. The cops are saying that this was actually a choke India terror plot, and the Delhi police is using this video to nail those who they call riot mongers. They are claiming that Sharjeel Imam used inflammatory words to incite riots.
पांच लाख लोग हमारे पास हो ऑर्गेनाइज्ड तो हम हिंदुस्तान और नॉर्थ ईस्ट को परमानेंटली कट कर सकते हैं, पर हम परमानेंटली नहीं तो कम से कम एक आध महीने के लिए तो कट कर ही सकते हैं। मतलब इतना मवाद डालो पटरियों पर, रोड पे, उनको हटाने में एक महीना लगे, है कि नहीं? जाए एयरफोर्स से, असम को काटना हमारी जिम्मेदारी है। असम और इंडिया कट के अलग हो जाए, तभी ये हमारी बात सुनेंगे। असम में जो मुसलमानों का हाल है आपको पता है, CAA नाफिज हो चुका है, वहाँ डिटेंशन कैंप में लोग डाले जा रहे हैं।
And joining us live now are India Today's Srishti Oja, who was keeping an eye on that hearing, and also India Today's Gaurav Sawant. Srishti, beginning with you, what are the main points that the prosecution has made against those they consider the conspirators of the Delhi riots?
Well, yes, Anjali, it's a big India Today exclusive. We've managed to access the entire compilation of videos that the Delhi police today played in open court hearing before the Supreme Court, taking the court through all the speeches that were made by Sharjeel Imam that the prosecution is relying on to prove that inflammatory speeches were made. And the idea of Sharjeel Imam and other accused in this case was always to not have a simple protest. But the 2020 Delhi riots were not a spontaneous, simple protest, but a well-organized, well-thought-of, violent protest. The entire idea since the beginning was to create violence and not to have a simple protest against CAA and NRC. This has been a constant claim that has been made by the Delhi police, and it's this particular speech and compilation of speeches that we have accessed that they're now relying on before the Supreme Court to argue that no bail should be granted to any of these accused in the case. Remember, since the prosecution has since beginning maintained that it was not a case of spontaneous protest. Today, the additional Solicitor General appearing for Delhi Police took the court through each of these speeches, pointing out specific statements made by Sharjeel Imam to show that it was the idea was to have a violent protest. Further, we saw that the AG also told the Supreme Court that they wanted to separate Assam. He spoke about separating Assam from India, and that clearly shows that they were not planning a peaceful protest. They just wanted to provoke Muslim population to further their own cause. They wanted, it was planned, it was a synchronized planning. Yes, back to you.
Gaurav, what is your analysis of this? Because we've seen the Delhi police and the prosecution side trying to use this speech that Sharjeel Imam had given, and actually when he had given that, it had gone really viral at that point of time also. So now this is becoming his undoing.
So is it just one Sharjeel Imam, or there are others? The facade may have been the Shaheen Bagh Dadis, but was there something far more sinister, according to the Delhi police, behind the Shaheen Bagh Dadis? A plot, as the government now claims, was to engineer a regime change operation in India. That is what the Delhi police believes. That is what investigators believe. And they're also looking at funding. Who are these people who are funding them? Now, is it a normal protest against an act which has been brought in Parliament, Citizenship Amendment Act, which has nothing to do with the minorities, with Muslims of India? However, a very sinister plot that Muslims are going to lose their rights, so incite Muslims of India so that there's communal violence in India. That is the Delhi police claim, and they're using this video to back them. Now, is it just a simple protest when somebody says cut off India at chicken's neck. That's extremely sensitive, because you're actually talking about slicing off an arm of our country, which is extremely sensitive, especially 2020, when you've already had a Doklam in 2017, when you've had hostile forces who are coming very close to the Chumbi Valley area, attempting to change the dynamics of that area. So is there an international game that is also at play? All of these are a matter of investigation that has been going on, and some of that evidence is now being put out in public domain by the investigators. I mean, it's brilliant work by Srishti Ojha that she's been able to access the communication and what was the entire compilation of the speeches. This is just one part of the speech. There is perhaps a lot more that will be unraveled in the days and weeks ahead. The fact that an intelligence bureau officer was killed, singled out and killed in another part of Delhi, the fact that the Delhi police were literally outnumbered and were fleeing to save their lives when a riotous mob came out in a part of East Delhi, all of these are indicators that it was a very well-planned riot, not just restricted to Delhi, but also other parts of the country.
Right, Gaurav, do explain to us that why is it important for the police and the prosecution authorities to ensure that this is projected or this is presented as a planned riot and not a protest, and that led to a riot? And how will that impact the proceedings going forward and the accused in the eventual outcome?
So initially there was a lot of, you and I covered 2020, all of us were covering what was happening on ground in 2020. So there was an effort which was made to indicate that these are harmless old Shaheen Bagh dadis who are taking to the streets to protect their rights. There was nothing to do with rights of Indian Muslims as far as CAA was concerned. But what is Citizenship Amendment Act all about? It was about persecuted minorities living in Pakistan, Bangladesh and Afghanistan who are being persecuted there to get access to come to India. Why? Because India is the origin of, Hindu Dharm, Bauddha Dharm, Sikh Dharm, Jain Dharm. And of course, because Christians could also be persecuted in the areas, this is the nearest place they could flee to, so they could come here. That is what CAA was. But it was said Indian Muslims will lose their rights. So one, the attempt was to incite Indian Muslims. It wasn't just a harmless protest. It was very well planned out according to the Delhi police. And now all these details are coming out. Who were the planners? How was it planned? Who was pulling the strings behind the scenes? Who was inciting Muslims? Where was it happening? Who was doing it in the northeast part of Delhi? Who was doing it in the eastern part of Delhi? Who was doing it in Jamia area? Why were there slogans of breaking our country into pieces and all of that happening if it is just to do with rights? I mean, this was in a way an attempt to show strength of a certain community that we will take you on, according to Delhi police investigations, apparently led by some of these leaders who are now being exposed in courts of law.
Right, Gaurav, thank you very much. This is all regarding a hearing that is currently going on in Delhi court. This is related to the bail application that have been posted by the accused in the Delhi riot case.